Hi everyone and welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Ariana Kellen, this is Jen White, and we're here in the CBC Newfoundland and Labrador newsroom in St. John's, and we're going to wrap up the Inside the Classroom discussion which we've been having for the past 3 weeks. We've heard from teachers all across the province, and this week for the first time we actually heard from Dale Kirby, the education minister. So we want to get your questions. We're live right now on CBC NL's Facebook page and YouTube channel. So if you have questions for Jen, who's the producer of this series, let us know. I'm going to keep track right in front of me. I'll ask Jen some questions if you have any comments. But first, what we're going to get to is some comments from teachers and one of the most important questions that we asked this week.
Yeah, Ariana, our series ended with the very thought-provoking question, asking the teachers if you had your time back, if you could go back in time, knowing everything that you know about the job as a teacher, as you know it now, would you do it again? And it sparked a lot of very strong emotional responses from the teachers in our series. We had 30 teachers in our studio over the last, for discussions that were aired over the last 3 weeks. And we'll hear first from Donna Reddick. She's a teacher. She's been teaching for 32 years now, Ariana. And when host Ramona Deering asked her at the end of that series, would you teach again? She, without hesitation, she said, absolutely. Let's hear from her.
For me, it's all about the child. I love spending my day with the little ones. I like seeing the aha moments. It may just be your little groups of kids who are gathered around and they have their copper wire and they have their battery and they connect it up and they're just so enthusiastic and they're so passionate about that. And it's just, I just love seeing that light bulb coming on. I really do. It's just so intrinsically rewarding for me. I still have that drive. I still have that energy. Am I frustrated? Absolutely. Class sizes have increased. You know, the inclusion model has certainly created issues for classroom teachers that have impacted our students. When my students go home at the end of the day, I sit down and I have just a big sigh, and I feel, you know, I feel discouraged, and this has been happening over the past number of years by the fact that I don't feel that I'm when I have a couple of degrees, I have a master's, I'm doing this for a long time. I worry about our younger teachers, our teachers who are just beginning. What are they going to face in terms of, you know, the challenges that they're going to have, and how is that going to impact the students? Because in the end, it's all about our students.
Now, disheartened, you know, discouraged, some of the words that were thrown about when those 30 teachers came into the studio to talk with us, but she would do it all over again.
Absolutely, and the main theme that ran throughout the series was the fact, Ariana, that they're saying that more resources are needed to help the teachers be able to give these students the education that they all feel that they deserve. And another point that she made there too was that she's worried about teachers who are just starting out in their careers having to start in these situations where there have been so many cutbacks and the teachers just feel they're just stretched too thin. So now we're going to hear from Angela Daw. She's a junior high teacher.
I love my kids dearly. I love teaching, but given the system that I'm teaching in right now, I don't think I would.
Why?
The frustration level, the feeling of feeling defeated, the knowing that things could be so much better for our students, knowing that there's so many relationships that could be happening that aren't happening due to numerous factors beyond the teacher's control. I find it really challenging. I have 3 degrees that have all focused towards being a music teacher, and I doubt myself many times.
And that was Angela Daw. She's a music teacher. And of course, we heard frank conversations from all of these teachers. But this week, we actually heard from Dale Kirby himself. So a lot of issues that were brought up in this series, and a lot of issues that he had to respond to. Resources, of course, being one of them.
Right.
And Anthony Germain spoke with Dale Kirby just this week. So give us an idea of what came out of that discussion.
Well, Ariana, he was actually, we spoke about the candid discussions that the teachers had. Well, when we finally got a chance to speak with Education Minister Dale Kirby, he was also pretty candid in his comments, and he actually spoke about, mentioned the issues about inclusive education that it kind of pretty much echoed what the teachers were saying. So let's hear a bit about what he said in that interview with Anthony Germain.
Let's face it, we didn't get into this situation overnight. and we're not going to get out of it quickly either. I think that we need, and not to prejudge the outcome of those, that the work the task force is doing, but based on what I've seen firsthand, we need to change the way that we're mobilizing our resources and providing resources to schools in order to serve students better. If you look at student outcomes in our schools, children are not being best served by this model right now. It is not working as it was intended to work, and we have to make adjustments because if we don't, we'll be failing our children, in my opinion.
So there's no real difference of opinion there. Dale Kirby's kind of echoing what the teachers are saying. We're going to pick up the conversation in just a second, but I just want to remind you that we are live right now and we are taking any questions and any comments that you may have coming out of this 3-week series Inside the Classroom. And if you have any questions about the Dale Kirby conversation, because we're going to get to it in a bit, but there was a little bit of a change of conversation after he first spoke with Anthony Germain, so I am keeping an eye on comments. So if you do have any questions, do send them along. But back to Dale Kirby. So teachers agree they need more resources. They can't take any more cuts. The education minister agrees. So what happens next?
Yeah, he's saying that this inclusion, he says inclusion is important. He says we do need inclusion in society, in our communities. It's important for kids to learn in these environments, but the system as it is now, as it stands, which I was a bit surprised myself when he said it, it's not working, which is what we're hearing from teachers. It's not that they don't want it. The teachers are saying they don't have the resources there, and what Minister Kirby is saying is that the system's just not working with the resources that they have. So where is the compromise in the two? I'm not really sure what's going to come out of that just yet, but he did say that they do have the Premier's task force is underway. They're in the middle of public consultations right now.
They did last night.
There was one here in St. John's last night. There's another one coming up on Monday and later in the week next week in Conception Bay South. And that is the Premier's task force on outcomes. But while we're considering the outcomes of students, he's saying that that does relate to inclusive education because the students are not being properly served. But when we spoke, we also brought up the issue of the larger class sizes. And since Dale Kirby has taken office, class sizes have increased from grades 4 to 9 as a cost-saving measure. And he's saying his most explosive comment, I think, this week was when he said,
pretty firm statement, and we're going to hear from him now.
Right, let's hear that.
Over my dead body, I've said since the budget last year that we cannot take any more teachers out of classrooms. We had significant reductions in education spending in 2013, and I'm not blaming the previous administration, and we had significant reductions last year. There were 73 teaching positions netted out. We cannot go there any further. I've been out talking to teachers and I've said we've taken everything that we can out of here. If we take anything else out of here, we're going to start doing damage. So I could not possibly continue to do this job if there are any reductions in teachers in this province. We would be causing damage, and I would not stand for it, and I trust that the Premier would not stand for it.
So this sounds like a matter of principle over which you would resign.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I couldn't be the person who would reduce those allocations any further. It's stripped back now to the point where there's nothing left to take short of going in and taking some of the furniture out of there.
So that was Dale Kirby speaking this week with the CBC's Anthony Germain. Now, there was a clarification.
There was. It was an email sent out, and I'm going to read a little bit of it here now. To clarify, my comments made in an interview with CBC were in response to a question concerning the teacher allocation model. The provincial government is firmly committed to our current policy on teacher allocation, and we have no intention of adjusting the model. So
how do you break that down into real speak?
Reporter Peter Cowan actually spoke with Premier Dwight Ball yesterday, and what he told Peter was that I support Minister Kirby and his comments around the teacher allocation formula, which essentially means that in schools where there's declining enrollment, where there are fewer students there will be fewer teachers allocated to those students. So if enrollment does go down, obviously teacher cuts is essentially what it's boiling down to.
So it's not as clear cut as no more teacher cuts.
Apparently not.
We are getting a couple of comments, and we are live right now on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. Trevor Best says this government has displayed time and time again it has zero credibility making statements. An election can't come soon enough, says Roger John. So we want to know your comments. How do you feel about Dale Kirby's comments? Were they fair? And what do you expect to see for your kids going forward in the education system in Newfoundland and Labrador? So we do welcome any of your questions and your comments. And we do have a little bit more from Dale Kirby as well.
We do. He also, as our final question in that interview with him, Anthony Germain did ask him, because we don't often hear from teachers, they're not often able to speak out for fear of repercussions or what might happen to their jobs. So Anthony asked Minister Kirby what exactly would happen. Let's hear that clip now.
Do you or the English district have any intention of taking any disciplinary action against the teachers and educators who spoke to us?
Never. I have been very clear from the beginning that we need to hear from teachers. They're able to speak out publicly. There's no problem with that. I don't have any intention of, suppressing, free speech or what have you. I think this is Canada, and we value the fact that we can have a respectful dialogue about what we need to do. And I've been pretty clear about that from the beginning.
So again, that was Dale Kirby, the Minister of Education. So our Inside the Classroom series has wrapped up, a full 3 weeks of coverage. And if you do want to go back and revisit any of that material, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/NL, our YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. So Jen, we heard from the Minister, we heard from the teachers. There's no real massive difference of opinion. So how are we going forward from here?
I guess that really depends on what comes out of this task force. That's where Minister Kirby is actually putting all of his eggs right now, it seems. The plan with that is that they are going to have a report ready for June, and then he's hoping to work with them to develop an action plan. And at that point, then he's going to see what they can put into the budget, the next budget, and he's hoping that there are some changes that will be made for schools and for students coming up in September 2018. But he did mention, Ariana, that is kind of cold comfort, to use his words, for anyone who may be in the school system right now looking for help.
Because that is a long ways down the road.
Exactly.
Because then they have to come back with their findings and then develop a plan from there on.
Exactly. So anyone who right now is in the middle of some sort of educational crisis, or poor students who can't get access to a speech therapist, or teachers who are at their wits' end, as we heard, because there are just no special education teachers or instructional resource teachers, we call them IRTs. If there are not enough of those supports in the classrooms, what happens next? I guess the message he's telling people is that we're going to have to wait to find out.
All right, so that is the end of our Facebook Live discussion right now. But keep the comments coming. I see there are some comments coming in right now. And we do want the discussion to continue. So the series, if you do want to revisit it, cbc.ca/NL. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, folks.